one is doing the duty, and one day in emergency that happens and he goes home. What should happen in the hospital? The other anesthetists should be given the charge of doing the duties of anesthesia. But in the afternoon, the patient comes and referred to some other place because anesthetist is not there. When I did the research and sat there, find out the signature of another anesthetist in the, I went to the job. I said, what happened? The anesthetist is there, even when you have referred the patient. But then I found that neither the doctor was interested to do the anesthesia duty or not the hospital was asking him, he was doing the duties of medical. If he has been assigned with the duties of a medical duty, 8 hours duty or 10 hours duty, he is not supposed to do the anesthesia. So what I say that whenever we are talking all these things, we are there in our cases, we have to see the structure to the vocation of the staff, the whole and the job assignment to the people and the management during the emergency so that those cases do not go out of them. The second case is the doctor is posted according to his or her desire. Because there are not enumerating the reasons why they want this posting and why the qualitative things are there, but they do exist. They are in fact. If the essential things are required in the hospital to a minimum level, we have to. After that, if someone is a surplus, then we can think of these kind of desires. Then the call system, the patients are referred because वो मेरा गला पकड़ लेगा, वो मेरे को कॉलर पकड़ लेगा अगर कुछ हो गया. तो what is the back support system? Do we have a real referral system कि अगर मेरे से कुछ परेशानी हो रही है, complications तो आएंगे, medical field is that, complications तो आएंगे. Only the thing is how we do tackle the complications at that moment. अगर उसके पास कोई back system नहीं है, तो वो he or she will refer the case to the ठीक है भाई, वो हम कर देंगे, इस परिस्थिति ठीक है. Then why doctors are so afraid? Because either sometimes because of overwork, they don't fill the record books completely, or they are in a habit of not putting the records completely. That is why we are afraid of the litigations. हम फिर वहाँ भागते रहते हैं, हमें बचा दो, पहले के पास जाते हैं, इधर जाते हैं, but we do need some kind of equipment. Then the equipment is out of order. We have worked all these things and these are workable. If we have some kind of a money allocation to such and such department and the accountability is there, why I am saying accountability is not that which is to be brought by other things. There are so many things where we have to bring the accountability, and accountability once it comes, it works at every time. Next please. So with this background, I say if a patient comes to a sub-center, we should know the job of a person and the things to be provided to the health seeker by the health provider. Is it a referral? Is it a good hygiene table? It is a label table. Is it essential drugs? Number one. What do we expect? Next please. What do we expect if the case comes at PSC? A safe abortion, a good referral, a good diagnosis, a good lab. I had been to Kota to some of the PSC. I went deliberating. I said, sister please मेरा BP नाप दीजिए, मैं तो एक रोज से आया थक गया. She opened up the BP and said, ये तो काम नहीं करता. So who is responsible for that? These are not the things to be corrected. Where and how this we have to see next. Like that. Now from the CSC which gives a comprehensive obstetric care, it diagnoses the patient, it admits the patient, it gives the blood transfusion as well as the cesarean section facilities and the postpartum care. We cannot expect the comprehensive care from the PHCs which are uplifted and where there is lack of staff. Next. See, next. So, we have government program. If we do not give the data completely to the government, we doctors, we paramedical staff, we are not helping them to make the policy. And at the same time, some of the advisors who are with the government are over ambitious. They should also learn the cases from the previous program, as what happened with the IUCD, when handed over to the paramedical staff with insufficient training and insufficient equipment of sterilization, and they wiped off the good program from the community. I am afraid if it happens with the MD. So minimum quality services are to be given before giving any policy or program. Government protocols are there. Do we follow? Is there any monitoring? Yesterday there was a presentation on monitoring. I think that includes this also. Orientation program and refreshers training, then selection of the staff. Sometimes only one person is being sent again and again. क्योंकि one person is under the burden of 10 programs. अगर रात को तुम यहाँ आके मेरी रिपोर्ट पूरी नहीं करोगी तो सुबह तुम लोगों को ड्यूटी पे नहीं जाने दूंगा, और जो रेजिडेंशियल ट्रेनिंग है उसका सारा मजा खत्म हो जाता है. Residential training is that where you really learn in the classroom and then you practice in the evening and you share your experiences, and if you are hesitant to ask anything in the class, then you are informally asking those questions. And then reviews. There was one question yesterday and there was some constraint. I can suggest you one thing. When we are doing a review of the maternal mortality or any case, first of all we should remove the name of that candidate from the ticket. The ticket should be photocopied in such a way that the name doesn't come. There is a complete tool on it which is called criteria-based review. And with that, without finger pointing anyone, that's a tool. If somebody is interested, I can go in detail later. And we can find out how to review without finger pointing anyone and to improve our program. Then the consent and the information to the patient, which is must, should be given in brief, and minimum to maximum quality is mandatory, looking up to the center where we are posted. If it is sub-center or a hospital, according to that, minimum to maximum quality should be given. With this, I say, with this background, if we prepare our cases for litigation, we have to take into account the administration on various aspects, the political will to reduce the maternal suffering from the day of birth of a girl, poverty not of money, poverty of thought, poverty of spiritual accountability at all levels. If we are little bit spiritual at all the levels, the accountability will come itself and it will help us. Thank you very much for this.
That's where I come from. I'm looking at, I have 5 slides, and what I'm doing is that from the point of view of the lawyer, I'm thinking of what are the aspects that specifically with reference to adolescents' reproductive rights that can be taken up as issues of advocacy, or maybe if we have that kind of material together, maybe take it as an intervention, maybe file a right to information application and find out, and then make up a case for legal intervention. So these are just points of thought. I'm sure there's a lot of work that has been done which will not get reflected here, and there are a lot of people in the audience here who have specifically worked and are working with younger people on their section of reproductive health rights, and obviously I would invite you to please intervene too. Just to set the context, this is how the ICPD defines reproductive rights, rest on the recognition of the basic right of all couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the numbers, spacing and time of their children, and to have the information and means to do so, and the right to attain the highest standard of sexual and reproductive health, to This should also include the right of all to make decisions concerning reproductive health, free of discrimination, coercion, and violence. This is just to sort of set the context clearly. Just from the top of my head, what are the laws in existence that could affect adolescents and their sexual and reproductive health rights? Some of the specific ones, like the Prohibition of the Child Marriage Act, the MTP Act, the PCPMD Act, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence. I put that in here only because sexual violence is a kind of domestic violence that the law clearly defines, and the fact that a woman is taunted for not giving birth to a son, or she is forced to undergo anything that's not permitted by law, like a sex selection or a sex determination test, that can very well come into the purview of domestic violence, and therefore I raise that here. And of course, there are other laws, within the IPC, there's the Drugs and Cosmetics Act and others. Now, just looking at what are the concerns specifically when we talk about adolescents. So, why is it that there is so much emphasis on, sort of catching them young? Because that's the age where they would want to experiment, they would be wondering what's going on, and that's the age when you can actually intervene and not only create awareness, also look at changing the mindset. That's the age where even as persons working on gender, that's the age where we want to speak to teenagers, children, school-going or college-going persons about what is it that, what are the gender stereotypes, what is sexuality, what is space, all of that. So that's where the key intervention really makes a difference. But in that, specifically looking at some of the aspects, like addressing issues of prevention of child marriages by implementing the law. Obviously, now that's one very sort of specific area where we have a law already. There has been a public interest petition, the law has been amended. Now, obviously, where we, as usual, as we get stuck with most laws, is the implementation of the law. We all know why child marriage becomes a concern, and it's a very pressing need when we speak about sexual and reproductive health rights, because that is the introduction of so much more at an age where probably a man, a girl or a boy are not even ready for it. And then more so for the girl who would get introduced to a lot more of exposure that she may not be prepared for, she may not be able to handle, she may not know how to handle it, she may not be open to be given advice on what's to be done, what's not to be done. And therefore it becomes very, very important that from that point of view, we look at how strategies are looking at how we can implement the law on prohibition of child marriages. Then of course, the major intervention that is required for